before he's a chancellor, he's a friend of OSG. He's been
That's
a brother
right.
I have followed for most of my career. And I can honestly say, I mean, the other day I had a meeting and I got on a Zoom call, as a matter of fact, with Dr. Baez, and she asked me about mentors and people that I respect in this business. And most certainly David Banks was somebody that I put at the forefront of that conversation, not simply because he's the chancellor, but because of all the work he's done across this country. So today I want to take this opportunity to salute you, Chancellor Banks, for everything that you continue to do to change the lives of young people, especially young men in this city and across this country. So listen, this is about you today. This is about you. And I just have maybe one or two questions, but I'm gonna let you do your thing if you don't mind.
Okay, all right. I appreciate you, brother. Thank you, Brother McKesey, my man.
All right. So I'm gonna just jump right into it. You know, earlier this week, you know, we saw I saw an article about some shakeup, right? And I don't need to know specifically about the shakeup, but I want you to basically talk to us about management and how important it is that when you step into this role, that you begin to analyze what's wrong and what needs to be adjusted and things like that. Because some of our principals, when they take over schools, they most certainly have people who may not, you know, fit the culture.
You can't make moves as a leader, even as a person as a school leader, unless you're first of all clear about what it is that you're trying to achieve. Like your vision, your purpose, like what are you there to do has to be clear. Otherwise, you're just making moves to be making moves. There are some people here at Tweed, there are some people as superintendents, there are some people in schools who may not sit in those seats after a little bit of time. After I'm finished doing the final evaluation, many of them will, some of them won't. And it's not even personal. Because what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to get the square peg in the square hole. This for me has never been about personality or people or, you know, I'm just trying to make sure I take care of somebody. I'm trying to take care of our kids and our communities. And if the role that you are playing is best suited to help me to do that, it's all good. That's what I'm trying to do. But I'm not trying to be loved. I'm not trying to be liked. I'm not trying to be, the Banks is cool. That's not, I know who I am. And I know whose I am. And I know why I'm here. And people that are about it and really making really doing this work for all the right reasons, they don't have anything to worry about. People who have stepped should be worried. Because I don't have step, I've never have step in anything that I do. Anything that I do, and anybody who's ever worked with me will tell you, I go all out. I give it everything that I have. And that's what I'm gonna do in this job. I'm gonna get everything I have, and I'm a good judge of talent, and I have a good sense about who should be playing first base, who should be playing shortstop. And just because you were playing short don't mean that you get to stay there. You may be better off playing second. But I'll assess that and do what I can do. So again, in conclusion for your first question, leadership is about, first of all, number one, being clear about what it is you're trying to achieve. And when you make changes in your org chart, you need to make sure you've got the right people on the bus that can help you to achieve that. And they need to be on the right seats on the bus. See, that's something people don't often talk about. We talk about who should be on the bus, but there's different seats on the bus. And
one of the questions that I have, and I know many of my colleagues have been talking about, is how disruptive is this system really about to get? And what is it going to look like for principals to, again, get an autonomy that's been sorely missed?
Yep. So April, just know that is exactly where I'm going with this. And I can't make announcements right this minute, but you know my orientation. I'm going to have a level of earned autonomy for principals. What does that mean? That means you don't get autonomy just walking out the gate. You got to demonstrate that you are ready. And we'll have a framework of what that looks like. And if you check those boxes, now the other part of it becomes, what does autonomy actually mean? What does that look like? That's more than just, you don't have to go to the superintendent's meetings, right? So even framing out what autonomy should look like, The other part of it is this, April, everybody ain't ready for autonomy. See, that's the other thing, right? So a lot of people call for it, but they're not fully ready themselves. I'm looking for people who are excellent, who can then use that influence to show other people how to be excellent. But if you're still struggling yourself and then telling me, but I want to be autonomous, you see, so here's what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to say to the superintendents, look, if you got 30 schools in your superintendency, but 10 of them are kicking butt, those 10, they don't need you, right? So you may have to do a couple of checks with them, but that's it. Let them go. Let them do what they need to do. And in fact, I want those other 10 to help influence the other 20. But for the superintendent, their job should be help the other 20. Don't treat everybody like a one size that fits all. You put me in the same room. I'm a 10-year principal. I've been achieving results. And you put me in the same professional development as a person who's in their very first year, who doesn't know a whole lot of stuff. That's not the way you should affect leadership, right? It's a differentiated approach. The same thing that we say we should be doing with kids in schools, but we don't necessarily do that for leadership. We just put them all in a room, everybody come to the meeting, you all gonna get the same exact thing at the same exact time. It makes no sense.
When we talk about impact, how do you assess impact in the schools that you're going in and out of every day, Fia?
So impact is about, leadership is just that, right? It's actions and impact. So many times when talking with school leaders, we have lots of conversations about what leaders are doing. But my question is always, and what is the impact of your action? Mm-hmm. And if it's a social emotional impact, if it is an impact in how you serve the community, if it is an impact about academics and learning, if it is your service to teachers and how you love on them so that they love on your babies, but it's actions and impact. And so when assessing impact and going into schools, we're looking at all of those things. But I think it's really a challenge in this unique moment in time because we are in the midst of this pandemic. There are people who are sick, people who are going through things, and these mighty warriors who are principals and teachers and educators who show up to serve have to figure it out. And so when you're assessing impact, you're looking at how are they in the face of these challenging moments? What are they doing to improvise? How are they being creative and innovative in their service? Because you got to get creative to make it work.
When we think about what you do when you go into a building, what advice are you going to have for these principals or these upcoming school leaders when it comes to hiring the right staff when you actually have an opportunity to? And those people who need to go, what are we going to do about it?
If that's not a whole word and the official question, Dennis,
Right.
I think what's key to hiring, and we've had several conversations about this in OSG in the last 2 years, but I think what's key is one, understanding what your intention for your school is. Like, what's your vision? Who are the people who believe what you believe about what's possible for children? So you have to look for people's hearts, for their characters. It's going to be a million people who come to you with a teaching license, with multiple degrees. That's easy. And then, are these the people who should be in front of your children? And I don't care what they look like, because all skin folk ain't kinfolk. But are they the people whose character says they're going to love on your babies as they seek to educate them? And are they going to go above and beyond? Or are they looking for a gig for comfort? Because comfort and excellence do not go together, ever. Anybody performing at the top of their game is not telling you about how comfortable they are. So as you look to recruit people to be in front of your children, they have to believe what you believe. And even if they don't have, let's say they're a new teacher, for example, and they don't have the edu-speak, right? To sound sophisticated and talk about teaching and learning, listen for the core of what they say they believe and what they don't say. And those are the things you should be considering. Your values, the values of your community, and what your children need.
It's important for principals. We shouldn't just sit here and say, I want to be a principal for 10 years. And that's not our goal. Our goal has to be to make a difference for every child every day. And sometimes we're going to be on a hot seat because of it. But that's what we sign up for. And I think that's what leadership is. Leadership is not about comfortability. It's about doing things that other people wouldn't do. It's about tipping over sacred cows. There's sacred cows in the system that need to be tipped over because no one dared to tip them over. So systems get built that way. But disruptions around tipping things over and breaking things sometimes that don't make sense. And that's why we're sitting in this room here, because it started with Dennis and Lay saying, what if? And I said, okay, let's do it. And we have to have these crazy moments. We have to be the crazy ones for kids. And one thing I would say about hiring, and then I'm gonna be quiet because I could talk about this all the time, is that when we hire people, especially roles of assistant principals, coaches, one of the big things we have to do is we can't fall for incremental success, incremental growth. The people we hire, especially in these key roles, they have to be multipliers. They can't be linear. It has to be geometric. And that's one of the things that we have to push. And me and Dennis were talking about that today. If we're going to break the system in 2 years and 4 years and really do amazing things for young people, we need people that don't think linear.
We have a mutual person, Dr. Lorraine Monroe, which I'm sure everyone is familiar with her work. And when I was getting my master's, we had the fortunate privilege of having Dr. Monroe be one of our guest speakers and really pour into us. I got my master's at Bank Street College, and she was a lot of times our guest lecturer. And one of the moments that she spoke to us that has always stayed with me, had the most profound impact on me, when she said, let's do the numbers. And she was talking about being audacious and having the audacity to confront mediocrity with teachers. And she said, let's do the numbers because it's a numbers game. And so she used middle school as the model to use the numbers. So she says one teacher, that mediocre teacher, teaches about 5 periods a day. And in those 5 periods, she has 30 students. So in one day, that mediocre teacher teaches 150 students for a semester. The second semester, that teacher has another set of classes, 5 periods a day, 30 kids. So in one school year, that mediocre teacher can touch 300 children. And then let's say that mediocre teacher teaches for 10 years. So if you take those numbers, 300 students in 1 year, and you multiply it by 10, that mediocre teacher has then touched 3,000 students' lives. And so when you think about the numbers that way, is that happening on your watch? Are you letting a substandard teacher impact 3,000 students' lives? And if you don't have the courage to confront or counsel that teacher out or do what is necessary to have that teacher go to a different profession, then you don't deserve to be in leadership because you failed those 3,000 students.